Now, one of the things that's really noticeable when you first start reading the OPPT document is that the word man is not used anywhere, and instead the word self is used. In Black's Law Dictionary, we looked up the word self, and we found self-defense. So Fiona's just going to read that out to you.
Self-defense in criminal law. The protection of one's person or property against some injury attempted by another. The right of such protection. An excuse for the use of force in resisting an attack on the person, and especially for killing an assailant.
Yeah. Now, even though it's self-defense, this is all very relevant because the person is the name that you use on your OPPT documents to file. Now, people say that you're not signing it, but you are signing it. Under the maxims of law, one of those maxims are...
He who takes the benefit must bear the burden.
Mm-hmm. Which means that it's just like you can ring up and get electricity, gas, telephone ordered for your home. You've signed no papers, just that your name was sufficiently provided, and bingo, you got the benefit.
And you've got a contract.
And you've got a contract straight away. You put your name because at this point, what's the purpose of OPPT if you do not have to put a name on it? There's no point having a website, no point having forms or anything. So there is a reason for it, and that's because you've got to put your name on it, and that name gets filed. So you're actually entering a document with your name on it, which is the signature to contract, or you're under the contract of the UCC, and that is under the law. You're now under their law, under their power. So if any of you out there think that you're not signing anything, you've been deceived. You are signing. You are signing. Just put your name to something, whether it's by through voice, by telephone, or on pieces of paper, and you file it. In this case with the UCC, you've got yourself a contract.
And as soon as you start receiving any benefits from that filing with the UCC, that's it, you're contracted. Anyone who has a contract under the law, even if it then, as happened to us, turns out to be the wrong contract, if you have used the benefits of that contract, too bad. You're signed up for it. You must bear the burden. You take the liability for that contract. You're responsible for it as soon as you start accepting the benefits of that contract.
The thing is, the UCC provides you with services, which is all about commerce. So the fact that if you're using a credit card, well, the UCC is already providing you with a benefit because you're under commercial law. So they've already got you by the balls, guys. The moment you're using anything in commerce, they've got you by the balls anyway. So you are using the benefit. All that's happening here is a switching from one kind of service to another, which we'll get into a bit later on.
So basically, by using the word self in the document, they're making it very clear they're talking about your person, your legal entity. They're not talking about the man or woman, the flesh and blood that you are. It's about yourself, your person, your fictional identity.
Exactly. So when we go to the first paragraph of this UCC document that we were looking at, and we actually didn't even hardly go past it. I had a quick scan of it. I didn't need to because within 30 seconds of looking at this, you can just route this thing out so quick. But you've got to know, you've got to comprehend legalese here, guys. You've got to know what's going on here. Now, they say here, UCC 1-308 creator, experiencing by creation, knowingly, willingly, and intentionally manifesting self through, by, and between bondservant, therefrom, any and all manifestations thereunder by universal contracts. Now, we need to break this down because the wording in here is very clever, and you've got to look at it through legalese because this is commercial law. The first thing is they've got the UCC code, which is UCC is all about contract law. So what we should do is firstly read up on the UCC here, and give you a bit of a background as to what you're dealing with here. So, do you want to read it out for you?
Okay.
This is Article 1 under the UCC.
General provisions. General
provisions, and that code which is they're relating, which is 1-103. We'll put it up so you can see this here as well, so you know what we're referring to.
Okay, 1-103, construction of uniform commercial code to promote its purposes and policies. applicability of supplemental principles of law. A. The Uniform Commercial Code must be liberally construed and applied to promote its underlying purposes and policies. So what's it for? Which are 1. To simplify, clarify and modernise the law governing commercial transaction. It's all about commerce. 2. To permit the continued expansion of commercial practices through custom, usage and agreement of the parties. And 3. To make uniform the law among the various jurisdictions.
That's more than enough, guys, and we're going to break this down and explain it further. But I guess what we need to do here is look at what actually really is going on in our everyday life. How does this apply in our everyday life in terms of legalese? And we'll try and explain this as simple as we possibly can with our ability, what we comprehended up to this point. Now, you imagine you're standing on a high vantage point on a mountain or a hill, looking down over the valleys where there's a city. Let's call that Sydney for now. And there's 4.5 million people zooming around. You can see pick-out traffic, pedestrian traffic, you can see congestions and all kinds of things going on. You zoom in, you can see mum and dads getting up in the morning, taking kids to school, others are driving off to go to work, trucks delivering their goods and services, etc., etc. Ships arriving in port, airplanes coming in, airplanes going out, all, you know, the typical things that you see that we're all aware of around city life. Now, what is the first thing that you notice if you look carefully? What do you see? And see is critical, the word see. It's the sea of information that is images that have come to us through books, through libraries, through the storytellers, telling us about the system, about the banking and insurance and everything that makes up commerce. So the sea that gets everybody doing what they're doing in the city is all based on commerce. And so the UCC is about commerce. It's about your everyday life and how you are using the benefits of that commerce to conduct your trade and barter, and how you pay, through the benefit of that, you're giving through taxes and royalty payments and whatever forms of fees that they charge you.
You're bearing the burden. You're
bearing the burden of that, right? Because that's the first thing to look at. We're talking about the C. You are seeing it. It's not just SEA, it is SEE. You are seeing the benefit. When you see a credit card, you see the credit card, right? So now we've got to look at how does this apply with the word self? Because the sea is the ocean of commerce. And the person is the vessel that, given birth, through your birth certificate, and or through immigration kind of certification in terms of nationality or citizenship. It comes in many forms, but you're given a birth to the name, and that name, as we've explained, is not you, it's the one that you are representing. And so now we have this vessel called the person. Now, that person is also known as the mind, I-N-D. It's also known as the ego. It's also known as the straw man. It's also known as the intellect. It's also known as, there's a whole range of things that we've mentioned in other videos, but that'll do for now. But it's all one and the same, because what it really is something that we are fantasizing about who we think we are, made up of all the information that is filled inside the vessel. So when you look at shipping, you have a sea captain. Now the sea captain is the man. We are the man sailing the vessel of our person. And we're going to give birth to that person, that vessel, on the seas of commerce. And before a captain can go and sail on sea, he's given the manifest. The manifest is a list of all the goods that the man is carrying on his ship. Now in this case, if you read the wording here, we're going to show you the wording here, the word manifest, manifesting, manifestation, is all about the fact that somebody puts an image in your head, you set that image into motion, you're going to manifest that, and that becomes part of your goods, your services that you are carrying in your vessel, because it's all based on belief. Because everything about the sea of commerce is all based on belief. It's all made up. There's nothing real. When you look out across the world to Sydney from a high vantage point, there's nothing going on, guys, in terms of commerce. Nothing's happening. Nothing, because there is no money. There is no Supreme Courts. There is no aeroplanes in that way. There is nothing. None of that is existing. What you are seeing is destroyed nature, destroyed man, destroyed sensory life, turned into dead, and what remains of us of the living, what remains of the living earth, is being set into motion by the dead, and we call them aeroplanes, and we call it, but we have to perform everything for it. We're doing everything. All that's dead's doing nothing. No, there's no money doing anything. There's no life behind money. There's no life behind person. There's no life behind just about everything that you've been taught at school. Everything you're seeing through Hollywood, everything you're seeing through law books and that, everything you're seeing, every facet of the system, it is all dead. So get in your heads that, guys. Get in your heads to see nothing is happening in terms of the dead world. It never has happened and never will happen. That's right, like we say, you come home and there you see little Johnny brainwashed because we've taught him to perform as Alice, and there he is performing Alice in Wonderland at home, turning the whole household and all the props, right? Nothing is happening with Alice in Wonderland. He's just fantasizing that Alice is there and all the props are there for Wonderland or the Mad Hatter Tea Party, but really he's using chairs, he's using tables, he's using his characters from his toys to be the Mad Hatters.
And just as he uses Alice to get into his story of Wonderland, ourself, our person, is the vessel we as man have to use to get into the system, because man can't perform in the system.
Exactly.
Man doesn't exist in the system.
Exactly.
Man is not recognised, which is why when you go to court they don't see you, the man, they just work with the name, the person, because that's what they have the power over. They don't have the power over you, so they can only, so they don't want to look at you, they just work with the name that you've got, which is your vessel on their seas.
Exactly. They don't have jurisdiction over the man.
And the UCC, the whole point of that, it's there to manage the vessels, because it's all about commerce. It's to lay down the rules for that. And the lawyers, the people of the bar, who are private corporations, that they don't have borders. Remember that we explained in the first video, they are tied to the bar. They don't have, they're not part of any other country.
They don't have any. They don't have any contracts or relationships to nations and countries. They're outside of borders. Their jurisdiction is the sea. They operate. Their job is to oversee the operations of all the trade and services of all the vessels conducted. So an aeroplane takes off with everything it's carrying inside it, with the captain in that plane, the ship that sails out, when they arrive in ports, when they land at the airports, and all the goods are taken off. They deal with all the customs of all of that coming in and out of every country. They deal with all the manifests of the lives and everyday lives of the men and women living in the fantasy land of Wonderland, made up of intellectual property, that is commerce. So they operate there. They're not, when you go and deal with these people, you're not dealing with people who are dealing with you. Oh, you're an Australian citizen and you're going to go with a lawyer, you're going to see a lawyer who's an attorney who has nothing to do with you as an Australian citizen. They only deal with you, this is under statute laws now, they're only dealing with you as the vessel performing in commerce on the seas. So because you remember, these guys are tied to the bar. They're all tied to the bar of commerce. So they won't give you full disclosure about that, or they themselves, innocently, most of them don't even realise this part of it, because they're not taught everything either about law either. And we've seen this with a lot of lawyers who are waking up to this now. They're starting to realise, shit, there's something going on here. We didn't know this either, and we've had this experience with certain of these people. But they don't want to be disbarred. They've got roofs over their head to worry about, mortgages, they've got careers, standings. They don't want to be destroyed and be accused or whatever, and and have no options in the sea of commerce controlled by the oligarchy. So when you go to court, the judge doesn't see you either, because the judge is overseeing the commerce. So the first critical thing you see about this OPPT documents, they don't use the word man, meaning they don't see you. They're telling you they don't have jurisdiction with the man. They've got no power over that man. They've only got the interest in the vessel that is the person that the man is acting as captain of, or in this case you're the one responsible, setting into motion, Alice. So when you created the birth certificate, whatever you've created, admitted to them under contract that they've got the right party. You are the captain of that ship, of that vessel, and that's all they want to know. They don't deal with the captain. As long as you've gone into that court and said, yeah, my name is Arthur Cristian, and this is, the moment you open your mouth, yep, they've got the captain of the vessel, and all they're looking at is the vessel and the services and the manifest and everything of that vessel. You see, basically, the ocean of commerce that we see from that vantage point looking over a city is made up of intellectual property that we call milk, bread, cheese, and everything that you go and buy from the supermarkets. It's also made up of every book in the library, the name and the title of those books, the name and the titles of the videos when you go to the video shop, the names of all the bottles that you go in the bottle shops when you drink, the names of all your cigarette packets, the names of just everything and everything and everything in the system, from spare parts to services to repairs, doesn't matter what. These are all part of the manifest that comes on board your ship when you engage with that product, with that custom. See, so for example, when your child goes to school and they're learning education, they're taking on board the manifest of the goods of the education. So that becomes part of the manifest that the attorneys and lawyers and everybody of the bar have a jurisdiction over. So because we're not given full disclosure about all this stuff, we blindly think that that we are a citizen in a country called Australia, and that the law is there to protect us from crime and harm and all that stuff, when really the whole basis of admiralty law, commercial law contracts, is all about what's happening on the high seas here, guys. Because the high seas is when you wake up and you go and pick up the telephone. That is part of your manifest, guys, because you've got a phone contract and the electricity and your gas. No matter what, the land titles deeds and the paperwork for that is part of your manifest. So the thing is this, going back to the child at school, every facet of what they're learning becomes part of the accumulation of man-made knowledge that's intellectual property that's embodied in the person. Imagine the person as a ghost, right? It's an apparition. And all you can see it is the reflection in the mirror that we showed you. And embodied in it is all the history of everything that you've been reading and been told about of the system that's tied to commerce. Now that's your manifest. You, the Christian, believing the Bible is part of your manifest. Because who is manifesting this? You, because by putting the images in your head and you setting them into motion, because someone's planted the image in your head, you're manifesting it into your vessel. You collect the goods and you put it into your ship. That's what it's all about. It's seduction. This is Adam and Eve and the snake guys in a way. So you've got to comprehend that in every facet of our life in the system, it's that. So it's where man, uncorrupted by this corruption, we are embodied the air of the dream of life. We're embodied with the light, sunlight of the dream of life, the trees and the sounds of nature, without no sound of the dead world, no cars, no aeroplane, no motorbikes, no chainsaws, no nothing, no refrigerators, dishwashers, nothing. right? There's nothing dead anywhere around it. We're just total perfection of nature everywhere in paradise. That's man, because that's all we got. And the power of that is obviously for another video. We already touched on things to come. But here we are, we've been hijacked from that into the shadow of that mirror where everything's now dead. It's a basic reflection of the real one. But instead of having sunlight and rain and blood and all that stuff, we now have the currency of money. Now, we've mentioned in the video that the name is the mark of the beast, the straw man that identifies your slave status in the system. The currency of the sea is a curse, because the whole thing is a lie. And what's behind it, if you peel everything back, if we were to press a button and the whole of city life just stopped, and there you are, from the vantage point, everything just totally stood still, the only thing that you see is destroyed nature everywhere and whatever remains of nature. And everything else is stopped because it doesn't exist, because whatever's going on is being set into motion by us, by man. We've just been tricked to go from nature into the dead world. You can call it Babylon, you can call it ancient Greece, it doesn't matter what you call it, it's still the system under another guise, guys. It's the system.
And when the judge says, did you not benefit, he means, did you not benefit from the cargo that you're carrying? Does that not benefit you? Which in the system it does. If you make a contract that gives you access to money, then you benefit from that because you go and spend it. That's why you cannot then turn around and say, sorry, I didn't want that contract, or I didn't want that. They're going, no, you benefited. You used the services that we offered you. You cannot then turn around and say you didn't want it. Same with the with the OPPT. You can't sign up for it, doing your filing, and then turn around and think you can go, well, actually, I didn't want it. As soon as you're using those benefits, you're bound. You're bound to it. You are the bond. You're bonded to
Christian Bible believers will say you just made a pact with the devil, because you have. But the devil's not as a fallen thing. This is where you're now dealing with the beast. You've just bonded with the beast again. You've gone from one now to the other, and we'll show you that as well. Now, can I just one quickly? Please don't forget. Just one thing I wanted to say here. When we went through the bank fraud court case over the family home, the Fiona's family home, what happened to us? This is just one example of the absurdity of this thing. We signed for a contract that was a line of credit. Clearly it was approved. We received the approval documents, everything for a line of credit. But what we received as a contract, which we didn't notice because we weren't really reading the fine print, and it was a mistake. It was just it probably was a genuine mistake right across the board here. We actually signed for a principal and interest contract, which means it's fraud. There's no agreement in law, the agreement of the minds. You've got to know, like you order a yellow car and they deliver you a red car. Well, there's no contract. You have the right to receive your deposit back and your agreement and move on. But we started using the benefits of this other contract
because we started spending the money.
We started spending the money on doing the renovations work. And when we went to court after we discovered the fraud of this whole thing, and because Fiona's been slagged for bigger money and all this sort of stuff, which you can read up on the website, you can learn about this, go on the homepage and you'll find the link to all this. We didn't know, what we're telling you now, going back to 2005 to 2007, we just did not comprehend all this in this way. So we also were bonded to the beast by actually starting to use the benefits of the services. And the judge, when we went to the Supreme Court and we appealed, we entered the appeal side of the court in the Supreme Court, and we argued over the fact the banks never gave us any money and all that. The judges in the courtroom said to us, or said to me, "Did you not benefit?" Right? But it went right over my head at that time. I didn't really comprehend this. I didn't realise what was being said here. But now, what Fiona's saying to you, what we're saying to you, the fact that we accepted that money and started using that money, even though they didn't give us any money, they just gave us the intellectual property of money, because that's what money is. It's not, you're renting the intellectual property. You're renting the idea. The idea is destroyed nature, turned into whatever physical material form, and we use it to trade and barter. It doesn't matter if it's computers with dots on screens. It's just intellectual property. The whole thing is intellectual property.
So all that the OPPT is doing it's giving us new cargo. It's giving us new intellectual property for our vessels. And we've been moulded over these last few years. The new age has been creeping in more and more into everything. It's even getting into the church a little bit, I notice, and it's just in getting into just about everything of life, this new age thing. And this has been going on for 30, 40 years. And this is all the lead up to getting us to accept our new cargo of oneness.
Well, under the oneness of the system, because the system, instead of having the Christian religion or Zeus or something now, or Jesus and all that, because behind the religion, behind the churches, is the system. What Fiona's saying now is that we're going to now divert from the old system to the new one. Now it's going to, instead of going answerable to some god or something, now it's oneness of the Galactic Federation and wholeness, not wholeness, but universal contracts and all this stuff. Look carefully, you're still seeing, under this guise, under these documents, you're seeing the continuation of commerce.
It's just a new way of doing business, basically, they're coming up with, but it's still the same thing. So we need, a new bond. We need a new bond to this new system, which is what the OPPT is. We're signing up for that, and that's our bond that keeps us living as bond servants for the system.
Let's explain it, guys. The factory that is the system, the factory is the Freemasonic satanic world with those who initiate into it, who learn the secrets of this deception, which is really plain for all to see now. So across the recorded history of their ages in their books are the records of the factory and how the factory adapted. Now this factory, we call it civilization. We can call it nations and countries, but we can call it religions. And as we explained already, that behind every civilization you'll find the religions, the royal families and the oligarchy, because they all come together. You'll find read and write alphabet languages, mathematics and geometry, because that is the heart of commerce. You've got to have to know that, and that's why these guys were all initiated through the old days through commerce and mathematics and geometry. So the factory is built out of mathematics, geometry and alphabet languages. You get initiated into that, and the vast population don't know about it because they weren't taught what the meaning of A, B and C were, the real meanings, and they weren't taught about the real meanings of 1 and 2 and all the hieroglyphics that come in. This is all for those inside the factory, because this is the tooling shed. The workers inside the factory of the Masonic world, they have to set up the tools for the conveyor belt to produce the models, right? So we got one factory, we call it ancient Greece. Another one we call ancient Rome. Another one we're going to call it ancient Egypt. Another we're going to call the Mayans, Incas and Aztecs, right? It doesn't matter how the method of the commerce applies, whether it's money or not, cashless or not. It will, the servitude that you have to another man who's now above you, and now whether you work in your gardens and he tithes from you 20% of your goods because you're a serf and you've got to give your Lord Baron 10 or 20% every month or every week or everything you're growing, or 40 or 50%, whatever that arrangement is, it's still commerce, right? Or even if you barter, I'll give you 1 box of apples, you give me 1 box of oranges, etc., etc. It's all still commerce. So the factory is made up of the men and women who create the images, who then have to put the images into all the serfs and commoners to brainwash them, under whatever way they can do it, to get them to set that into motion so they become the willing slaves who perform those images, which is what's happened to all of us today. We go into education. Our parents went to education. We go to all areas of education, whether it's religion, television, whatever, to become the believers who see the seas of commerce. But we don't see it in terms of the intellectual property that is all the dead world, that has everybody getting up and doing what they do as you watch from the vantage point, looking down over the everyday life of all the people, all the persons, all the selves, because that's what you're seeing. They're all believing. So the people behind the factory have got to get you to believe in the intellectual property. That becomes your bond. And that bond is your trust. So in law, they call it your trust. The trust is the fact that you won't give up that belief, because while you believe, you're trusted to the makers, the storytellers of that fantasy world, knowing that you'll wake up and go to bed, wake up and go to bed, wake up and go to bed, to continue following that lie, because you trust it and you're bonded, right? So,
well, it's like in the old days, slavery was overt. They had the chains, they had the whips. and they kept everyone in line by force. But obviously, when something is so overt like that, eventually people rebel. This way, it's over the years, those behind the system have developed a method whereby we don't see the slave bonds, we don't see our shackles and chains, but they're still there nonetheless. They're just in a different form. They're just in the form of our cargo that we've been brainwashed into accepting and believing.
That cargo is called belief systems. You fall into those belief systems. They become such a distraction because you're under the spell that, you know, you're the lawyer. Your life is the lawyer. You don't concentrate everything because you're too busy focused on that. Or you're the engineer or the scientist. You're the school kid going to school and doing your homework. It doesn't matter. It amplifies out to every facet of this lie that is the sea of the beast that we are caught up in. But you need belief. That's your trust. That's your bond. When you have had your name registered as a birth certificate, or whether you put your name on the form that you give to the UCC, you trust it. You have bonded. You're accepting the system of commerce, and we'll give you the fine print of this. You'll learn about this, how this all applies. All of you caught up in this OPPT have been ripped off and scammed, and you need to expunge everything and terminate and get rid of it all. And you also got to learn, do not get sucked into anyone else who comes across with any other remedy that has any connection to commerce. Now, another thing that happened to us, Lisa Harrison brought up a post on the Facebook wall, and she said this.
Shall I read it out?
Yeah, read it out.
Hello Arthur, I look forward to your video. I assume you will bring to light the necessary rebuttal of these filings via a duly verified rebuttal of the Declaration of Facts UCC number 2012127914, point by point, with specificity and particularity, by duly sworn declaration, with your full responsibility and liability, under penalty of perjury under governing law or any law, so long as it is identified, signed by your wet ink signature, as this is the only way to negate the action of the one people's public trust.
Now, we replied to Lisa.
So basically what she is saying is that the only way you can get rid of the OPPT is if you do it, again, through the law of the system. She's saying otherwise you can't do it.
And we need to go back and we'll talk about the UCC a bit further. But, you know, the point is, Lisa's using an instrument of the system. OPPT is manufactured from that factory that's in the system, right? Now, all she's done, and what OPPT are doing, is like they've gone back to the factory, they found some old tools in the factory, and they re-put them back on, re-machined them back up, put them up onto the conveyor belt, and remodeled another model of the system that was used a long time ago, and they call it the 1776, whatever it is, trust for the people. But there's terminology, then you can look up on all this sort of stuff. And they've applied it in a new model. It's like going to Henry Ford and getting an old Henry Ford model car, remaking it, but putting some new modern things to it and putting it out in the open, saying, okay, this is our new version. But the OPPT documents and everything about the OPPT was made in the factory that is the system. And she's asking us to go into the system to deal with OPPT. And we're saying, well, in this case, Arthur the man, I'm not in the system. I'm out of the system. Why do I need to go into the system using a name, which means that I will enjoin it to the UCC, by even using UCC documents to rebut it? I would be tempted, I would be seduced into contracting with the UCC just by enjoining any documents to the UCC with the name. Now, I don't use that name for anything. For years, no longer have that name tied to anything. Why would I want to go back and be part of that world? Because the moment I do it, I'm saying...
She's asking me to claim that person again.
She's asking me to claim that person again and put the man, the captain of the vessel, under their jurisdiction. No, I'm not going to let that happen, guys. I'm unwilling to do that.
Your claim has been rebutted because Arthur does not believe in UCC or OPPT. They have no power over Arthur because Arthur is not of the system nor for the system. Arthur is not an authorised, copyrighted right of copy representative of the system. Arthur does not live for the darkness, nor is Arthur of the darkness. Arthur is not answerable to another man. That's unless Arthur has caused first party to first party harm. Obviously, you've got to take responsibility for that.
Yeah, the darkness is intellectual property you're representing. It's the mirror. The mirror that you're reflecting, which is what you're living your life out of, is the darkness, right? It's the shadow. It's the hue man, the H-U. It's actually H-U-E. The phonetics, it's hue man. It's a shade of man. It's a colour of man. We're not man. So all selves and persons are hue man. They're not a man. Like when you hear the word mankind, it's not man. It's a kind of man. We're man. This is critical, guys, when you see these documents. So that's what I'm saying. I'm man. I'm above the UCC in that way. I'm not prepared to go underneath the UCC and let them have authority over this man. The other thing that's critical here is that with the UCC, I'm saying that I don't want the benefits. I don't want any of your manifest. The living man does not accept those benefits. Which is what Lisa, she may be innocent to this and doesn't realise this, but let's take it either way because I don't know. Because what she's given to us is a temptation for us to try to rebut it. And we're saying to her, we've already rebutted it because I'm not prepared to go into your darkness to use the shadow of this man as a name to enjoinder with your darkness, which is the OPPT documents, to file it in the UCC, which is the extension of the system of darkness, to be burdened by and be bound by it. The whole thing's absurd. So that's one factor. Here's the absurdity. What Lisa's saying here, she's saying that she's relying on the force of the system to enforce her claim about her statement, right? That's one thing. You look carefully, she's actually saying, I'm going to use the force of the system to enforce my standing. Right? Well, this is hypocrisy of the worst kind. She's saying, because the people behind the APP are saying, we're actually going to leave the system behind, but we're going to another system in a way. But actually, you still want to use the system. You want all the benefits of the system.
And if you want to rebut the OPPT, you have to use the system. But surely if the OPPT has already made the system not exist, which some people have written, then how can we go to it to rebut the OPPT?
Easy.
Is the system still there or is it not? Has the OPPT got rid of the old system or hasn't it? Lisa's asking us to go to the old system that apparently has been got rid of by the OPPT, but we're still told to go to it to rebut the OPPT.
What she's saying is, she wants us to still see the C's so that we merge with those C's by contracting with it in any way whatsoever. Right? This, you got to watch out, guys. You got to all watch this out. This is all part of the temptations that suck everybody in, and millions of you are getting sucked in by these kind of tactics. Big time, because we get emails coming all the time by people who are victims to this sort of nonsense. See, behind UCC is a man acting in costume titles UCC. Behind OPPT, there's a man acting in costume and title as the OPPT. We've asked Lisa, if it is a man, can we have the address of this man? Because we'd like to talk to this man. We want to know, is that the first name of the man? Is it the surname of the man? Because I want to know if this man's got a higher standing than another man. Now, obviously, they're not going to come forward and say, yeah, we've got a higher standing than another man. They've got to trick you. They've got to trick you through the deception by accepting the idea that the UCC has force, and they've got force with jurisdiction over you by accepting their statutes and everything else of that manifest. Because no matter what they manifest, you're accepting it, which we'll talk about that very shortly. So we're saying to her that we don't accept the copyright of all that intellectual property because we're not burdened to that copyright. Because this man does not use that service. I don't benefit from that service. I have nothing in that name, nothing at all whatsoever, guys. It's all in Fiona's name, even though she's still compromised. I don't use it. I get people providing me with gifts and benefits, and I'll use it from them in that way. See, the UCC is intellectual property images copyrighted. OPPT is intellectual property copyrighted. It's an image copyrighted. That's the system for you. Arthur Cristian putting the name on a form becomes intellectual property copyrighted. That makes me the captain of the vessel benefiting from the services provided on the seas of commerce in whatever way or form. I'm saying that that they are all vessels and they're all fictions, and that they have no power with me, and even though she's saying under perjury and under force of law and all this sort of stuff, the living man is not under them whatsoever, and she won't be able to prove it. All she can do now, or anyone can do now, is to bring their force right out into the open for all to see, to come and harm the man. Blatantly come out in the open, harm the man. That's all they can do. The other thing that we need to look at about this is that, see, we said to Lisa, nothing of the system can free man from the system. You can't rely on darkness to free you from the darkness, because that's more darkness. You can't stop a war by creating more war. The only way is to return to the light and work with the light, which means stop living the lie. Stop living in the system of lies. The other thing about Lisa's comment, she's also admitting that she's a loyal servant of the system. We asked her, who's your master, Lisa? Who is your master? As we've asked Max Eigen and so many others. Who is your master? So basically, we've rebutted it completely. Well, Arthur's rebutted everything, completely blown right out of the water, because it's got no power over me. I'm not answerable to them. I'm not in their world. I'm not their ship captain. I'm not their self or person. I have no trust. Because I've got no belief in it. I don't believe in any of it. It's all dead to me. I've got no trust or bond with them. And that's all you've got to do, guys. You don't have to send them in paperwork and tell them you're removing. You just stop using it. Give it up. Give it up. And you can stand as that. But that takes a lot of support from a lot of community people around you, which is what I'm getting, to allow me to do this until we can get another one of you, and another one, and more of us get this support, so we get many of us start pulling out together like this. The other thing, because there are people hiding behind the costumes and titles, acting as the representative of OPPT, they're actually under limited liability, because they're not operating under full liability. They can't, because they're not the living man. We're not dealing with the living man. We're dealing with the fiction. The man says, it was the devil that told me so, and I went and did it. Well, that man's not the full quit. He's under limited liability. He needs to be put into a psychiatric unit now, with high security, because you can't trust that man, because that man could turn around and kill another man, or another man, another man. The same thing. You can't trust every lawyer and barrister and anyone who's acting under costume and title. They all need to be locked up and put in prison, because they're not operating under full liability. They're not accountable for their actions. They're hiding behind the statutes and the laws that makes up the shield of their limited liability. They're not the full quit. They're not normal. They're not sane. They're not using sense. Yes, we've got to forgive them. Give them the chance to come back to sense, come back to the real world, which is what we want to do. We don't want to harm them. But if they continue with this lie, they need to be gathered up and put away and be re-educated back to nature, where they don't do harm to anybody, and be allowed to be set free with the rest of us, living in paradise, which is what they need to do. We've all got to get back there. We don't want to harm anybody. But if they're going to keep harming people, we need to protect those communities and those children who've been harmed by them. They need to be locked up and put away for a while. Not under the terrible conditions that many of us suffered under them. We're not going to do that to them. We're going to give them a chance to recondition and get themselves back into nature, in a way. And that's another subject for another time, based on all the descendants that come if it doesn't happen in this generation. But this is all before us, guys. We're going to have to do this sort of stuff. The other thing that about this is we will never let another man under costume and title come into our lives and give us another standing. That's why if they come knocking on our door and they say, "Is Arthur Cristian here?" or "Is Fiona Cristian here?" I says, "Who are you?" I says, "Who are you? Who are you looking for?" He says, "I'm looking for Arthur Cristian." I says, "Well, do you have a contract with that person?" "What do you mean?" "Yes, I do." I said, "Can you bring forward a copy of the contract with this person?" "What do you mean? Have you got a contract with the person?" "No." "Okay, you got the sign here. You're trespassing. Leave immediately. Go." Right? There's a signing at the street, a signing at the door, and I'm giving you a third warning. The cock has crowed 3 times. Bugger off. Out of here. And all the best to your family. Right? We get people on the phone who've done this. We had one guy turned up here looking for $300,000 under some rubbish with Macquarie Bank, going back to the bank fraud. They asked the man straight away, "Do you have a contract?" He said no. I said, "Okay, leave." The guy left within 30 seconds of arriving. We've had people harassing Fiona and us over the phones over this contract, because what's happened, the banks are selling off their debts to a third-party debt collection agency, right? So you can get rid of these people, because they're all just merchants. They're no different to attorneys. They're just merchants wheeling and dealing human collateral in the terms of commerce, isn't it? And whatever else they can exhaust from your life and steal from you, because that's what it is. It's rape, pillage and plunder. So you've got to watch that you don't contract the name and admit that you are the captain of the vessel, because that's what they're looking for. Because they're sailing on the seas. They've arrived here as a ship, making the accusation that they have a contract with you. Now, it's the same thing Lisa's done. Lisa's saying, come and rebut this, Arthur. Here, come out, man, come and take us on, come and rebut it. And we're saying, it's nothing. You have nothing, Lisa. Nothing. Nothing. We don't see you. We see the living. You can come in, we'll feed you. You can come here and we'll play and have fun. We'll do music together. We can laugh together. That's still available, Lisa. But when you come under the costume and title this, I won't see you. Because you're dead. You're part of the dead world. And you'll do harm. I can't trust you. Come to the living and you're my co-creating partner. But what I will do is do what I can to draw you out from that. And everyone else is trapped in this. Draw you out from that. Bring you out of hell. Bring you out of bondage. Pull you out. That's what I'm here for. Pull you out. And all of you out. And that's what these videos are for, to help you come back to paradise with the rest of us. It's the only way out of this mess, guys. So, in a nutshell, the offer that Lisa has given us is the representation of a religion. It's a legion. It's a religion. And if you listen to what she says, could you read it for me? By duly sworn declaration.
With your full responsibility and liability, under penalty of perjury under governing law or any law, so long as it is identified, signed by your wet ink signature, as this is the only way to negate the action of the one people's public trust.
What she's saying here, this is a legion, a religion, right? So it also means it's a dictatorship. Wow. This is no different to Knights Templars with shields and lance in hands on the War of the Crusades. You're using similar intellectual property images as the cause for uniting a gang, if that's what it is. OPPT is a gang. And for your enforcement of the policies over others, particularly those who refuse to be part of any religion, and to maintain the glue, and here's the big one, and to maintain the glue of this united gang, and regardless of guise, you'll need the system. And we said to Lisa, well done, Lisa. The continuation of the same scam under another guise. This is what Max Icon's promoting. A gang. All of you out there are pushing this. You're out for the gang. It's a religion, guys. Where's the free man in all this? Where's the uniqueness of man in all of this?
Within our world, watching dreams without blue skies floating by. Why are the grey clouds forming overhead? Forming overhead. I'm trying to breathe. I'm following the path mapped out from the start. Why do my dreams keep moving out of sight? Moving out of sight. Ooh, I'm trying to fly, but where's the light that keeps me down? I'm not alone. shines faintly through the smoke. Layers of fantasy, images that blind us to our lives, blind us to our lives. And I'm trying to see, I'm juggling with my things, I'm struggling with the cold, and I'm spinning in a vortex of burning words, of burning words. Ooh, and my head's on fire. Oh, where's the love inside my heart to wake me up from storyland, from my deep sleep? We'll save the forest, we'll save the mountains, we'll save the ocean when we save our lives. We'll save the children, we'll save the old ones, we'll save our earth when we save our lives, by doing no harm. Ooh. We're living for the love that lights up in our hearts. We're living for the dream of a world of do no harm. We're living for our kin, our tribe of conscious men. We're living for the truth, no more waiting for saviors.